What is going on, everyone? Yvonne from Pair Recruiting here. Now today, we're going to discuss something that does not get mentioned enough, which is going to be Venezuela. In today's economy, Venezuela is becoming one of the smartest places to hire remote talent. And honestly, the big part behind it is that no one's looking there. So if you're a founder, an agency owner, or a startup operator and you're trying to scale without breaking the bank, this might be your spot. Now I get it. Venezuela may not be the exact first spot when it comes to remote hiring, but the reality is that there's a lot of top-level talent out there that's highly educated, experienced, and to be honest, most businesses are just sleeping on it. So in this guide, we're going to walk you guys through exactly why Venezuela is one of the most underrated places when it comes to remote hiring, walk you guys through exactly what positions to search in that region and how to do it right. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now you may be asking yourself, Yvonne, why Venezuela? What is the special sauce about it? For starters, the talent is seriously good. You're going to find talent that's sharp, experienced, and they're already used to working remotely. And honestly, that experience working remotely for many years with European and US clients is a huge advantage. Because think about it, in the United States and Europe, most folks started working remote just after COVID. However, in countries like Venezuela, where you didn't even think people work remotely, they've been doing it for years for different US and European clients. And don't get me wrong, this is not just task work. Venezuelans are going to be amazing when it comes to marketing, design, or anything operations related. Think about it. They've always had to be scrappy. Because of the economic situation back home, a lot of Venezuelans learned to roll with the punches and they've adapted quite well. They've learned the tools, mastered the techniques, and they show up every single day. And on top of that, if you're hiring from Venezuela, you can get top tier talent for a fraction of the price. The cost of living there is much cheaper compared to the US or Europe, so you can pay people much higher than they normally would have gotten. That way, you can always hop on a call without playing calendar gymnastics. So essentially, you're getting solid talent, great communication, time zones that adjust at a low overhead. Now, the next question you may have in mind when it comes to hiring is what kind of roles are going to be the best when it comes to hiring from Venezuela. Now, there are going to be a ton of different categories. However, a couple of them stand out more than others. And the first ones that really come to mind is going to be anything when it comes to customer support and virtual assistants. A lot of folks in that region are going to be bilingual, so anything that's going to be customer facing or just interacting with your guys' team is going to be a no-brainer. And Latin American culture is extremely warm, so whoever they're going to be speaking with, they're going to be in for a treat. Because when it comes to running a community, there's going to be a lot of different moving parts. There are a lot of different platforms to manage, all the way from Slack to Discord to Facebook. And when it comes to running a community, being able to streamline discussions, but at the same time, keeping everything organized, that's going to be pretty crucial. But in addition to chatting with folks from Venezuela are also going to be amazing when it comes to marketing or anything e-commerce related. So when I say marketing, this falls under a huge umbrella, all the way from email marketing to making content to helping you run your analytics. And later, that can go ahead and tie with your guys' e-commerce efforts to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. And think about it, there's another huge plus that you may be missing. That means if you guys have an e-commerce operation going on, you can expand to other territories like Latin America, and that can be huge, especially if somebody understands the language and the culture behind it. And finally, when it comes to developers, even though it's a much smaller hub compared to Brazil, Argentina, there's still a lot of great talent out there. Lots of folks have a tremendous amount of freelance or agency experience, especially when it comes to anything that's front end. So whether you guys need help with operations, e-commerce, content, Venezuela has people ready to go. Now let's say we're ready to go and we're ready to onboard our very first hire from Venezuela. How is that different when compared to other countries? The first thing that you have to look out for is that the economy plays a huge role. Unfortunately, for years, Venezuela has dealt a lot with hyperinflation and currency instability. And because of that, majority of folks prefer to get paid in US dollars or crypto because that's going to be a lot more stable. That way, you can use platforms like Deal, Binance, or even Zelle. And that could be a huge contrast to hiring in places like Europe where people expect a traditional payroll, or even the Philippines where majority of folks use local banks. And Venezuela, you have to keep in mind that in Venezuela, flexibility is going to be key. But in return for that flexibility, you're going to get some of the hardest working people on the planet. The amount of resilience that people have over there is unreal. They've dealt with literally everything, all the way from power outages to broken Wi-Fi to unstable infrastructure infrastructure. And they still deliver, which is completely nuts. That kind of grit is pretty much impossible to teach, and those are going to be the folks that you want on your team. However, let's be real, there are some quirks associated with it as well. In addition to the third-party platforms that I mentioned before, when it comes to payments, most of the work agreements are going to be informal. Unlike the US or Europe, there's going to be limited to no government oversight. And that's why, if I was in your guys' shoes, I would have a very clear contract. You need to express exactly your guys' expectations, how you're going to communicate, and how to end the contract if needed. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but always have a backup plan if the power does go out, because it does happen. And don't forget, things like healthcare or benefits are not expected, but those little extra things can go a long way. A monthly bonus, an internet stipend, or a little holiday gift can go a long way, especially when it comes to employee retention. Now, as you guys are going through the hiring process, there are going to be a couple different ways to do it. You can dig around platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, or Upwork to see if anyone's on there. But as we all know, that takes a lot of time and energy. Or you can go ahead and work with somebody that already knows the space. Someone that has already pre-vetted candidates, knows the local restrictions, and knows how to do it fast. That's exactly what we do here at Paired. We help connect businesses with top-tier Venezuelan talent who are going to be ready to go. Whether you need a virtual assistant, a marketer, or a designer, we'll go ahead and line up candidates for you, run test projects, set up contracts, and get payments ready to go. We'll go ahead and do all the heavy lifting for you so you don't have to figure it out from scratch. The whole point of this is to make the entire process really simple and easy, and that way you guys don't get lost in the weeds. And if that sounds helpful, there's a link below to get started. So overall, final thoughts. Is hiring from Venezuela worth it? Without a doubt, a big yes. Venezuela isn't just a low-cost option. The country is packed with high impact and motivated talent that's ready to go. So if you are a startup and you're trying to grow lean, and at the same time you're just tired of juggling multiple things at once, Venezuela is an absolute move. Honestly, just make sure that you understand the basics. Be flexible with payments, communicate early, and treat your hires with the same respect as you would with somebody that's sitting across with you at the office. Do that and you'll have a really loyal team. And if you don't want to do all the legwork yourself, we're here to help. Because let's be real, Venezuela is a place most companies overlook. But if you're willing to think globally and put a little bit of structure, this can be one of the best hiring decisions you guys make. Essentially, this is where affordability meets professionalism. And right now, it's still early enough where you won't be competing against hundreds of companies without one person. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to share it, reach out with any questions, and keep an eye out for more global hiring breakdowns soon. See you in the next one. Peace.